Hey everybody, it's Glenn back in this video and gearing up for Captain America Civil War with the Disney Store exclusive Marvel Select Black Panther. Well, Peter Long, as you asked so nicely, and Paul Turbo, the wait is over, because the time for that review is right now. The side of the packaging pictures some Silver Age-esque artwork, which frankly in style jars a bit against the actual Select, which we see on the packaging back, pictured against a backdrop of classic comic covers. And here in the UK, this will set you back £19.95, or if you're on the continent, €29.90. And it's not just a review, no siree, it is in fact an action figure comparison, as the Marvel Select goes toe to toe and nose to nose with his Marvel Legends counterpart. Well, as nose to nose as they can go with the size discrepancy. Back in the Toy Biz era of Marvel Legends, 2005 to be precise, saw them release a Black Panther as part of their Sentinel Bath series, which I would throw into the mix here, yet I don't have it, as I don't particularly like it. I've never really liked the more pimpin' Black Panther. I know the guy is literally a king, and with the cloak and bejeweling of their costume, they're trying to convey that majesty. Yeah, I've always favoured a sleeker, more predatory look, truer to his Animal Kingdom namesake. Which brings us to Hasbro's version from the Rocket Racoon Bath Wave of 2013. And yes, you heard me right, no offence to Rocket, but in 8 years we went from a Sentinel Bath to a Rocket Raccoon one. And so in design, Hasbro's version makes for more of an apples for apples comparison. Now initially it might seem like the Select has no deco, but up close you can see some very subtle variation between the black of the plastic and the dark blue paint application. I like that subtlety, as it makes it easy to imagine him merging into the shadows of, say, a dark street and then striking from them. Alternatively, the deco of Hasbro's is very heavy-handed. It almost has that clumsy spray effect of Big Time Spider-Man, which you may be familiar with through Shartimus's videos, and he christened it Big Time Letdown Spider-Man, which is very apt description of its deco. I wouldn't say this is that bad, but it's certainly edging in that direction, and I get that the end goal is to create the effect of light and shade, but the execution is just too haphazard and random. Yet what I do like is the blue of his boots and gloves and their black stripes. It makes him very reminiscent of 70s and 80s comic art, which I think the Select is going for that classic look too, as under closer inspection you can make out those same stripes on his boots and gloves. Here, however, they're etched into the sculpt. While generally I like the subtlety of the Select's deco, yet some application of blue paint to its boots and gloves I feel would help break up the vast expanse of its relative blankness and make him more definitively classic looking. The Select is sculpted by Jean St. Jean, whose work I'm most familiar with in my collection from his Select Carnage and Venom. He also sculpted the recent Doctor Strange, and I think his style might have been better suited to a more ornate design similar to the Toy Biz's Black Panther, where he could have really gone into the intricate detail, which is where I think his sculpting excels. Not that this sculpt is bad by any means, it's just the simplicity makes it more a study in anatomy. And comparing the head sculpts, I do go with Hasbro's. The head sculpt of the Select has the look of it being sculpted in isolation, then added to the body when finished. It just doesn't seem to have the same head to neck natural synergy of Hasbro's. The Select comes with a display base, which I assume is a slice of Wakanda, the fictional African nation that T'Challa the Black Panther is king of. The sculpt is very detailed and the deco is complementary to it, with much dry brushing going on to highlight the dimensionality of the sculpt. Yet I get a less Wakandan vibe and more Japanese. I don't know if that's just the scale of the tree makes me think of a bonsai tree, but let's place T'Challa on the base. Now, since the inception of their Marvel Select line, Diamond have adopted detailed display bases. Yeah, I think T'Challa would have been better served like their recent Spectacular Spider-Man, coming with a bunch of interchangeable hands and then an interchangeable unmasked head. I mean, don't get me wrong, display base is certainly better than no display base, it just the static look it creates seems to be a direction that the adult collector market is moving away from, and it's moving more towards the Japanese style import influenced interchangeable parts. But where Marvel Select have focused on upping their game is in the articulations, so let's see how that compares. So the heads of each are both able to rotate, and then they both are able to look down, although the Legends one more so, and then they're both also able to look up, again the Legends more so. At the shoulder, the arms of each rotate, and then the arms hinge up, the Legends one slightly more, and then they both have upper arm rotation, and then the Legends has a double jointed elbow, whereas the Select's is single jointed. Then the Select has mid forearm rotation and wrist rotation, whereas the Select just rotates at the wrist, and then both their hands are hinged, moving up and down. And in fact, the range of articulation of the Select's wrist hinge is greater than the Legends, but that's some mighty odd engineering on that joint. I'm reminded of the Deadpool movie and him punching Colossus. And while we're on the subject of the hands, I do wish the fingers of the Select's hands were a bit more splayed and just more gestural. I think this is where he would have benefited from interchangeable hands, some more splayed hands, some fists maybe. Back to articulation, and it looks like the Select should have waist rotation, but I can't get that to budge. Let me know if yours does. Yet the Select does have a rotating diaphragm joint, whereas the Legends has a rotating waist and an ab crunch, which moves this far forward and this far back, and then the Select diaphragm joint barely moves backwards and forwards. Then at the hips, maybe the legs of the Select move out a tiny bit more, but then the Legends ones move much further forward, and they do move further back. Both have upper leg rotation, then they both have double jointed knees. The Legends has rotation at the top of the boot there, whereas the Select one doesn't. They both have hinged feet and ankle rocker pivots that I love. And this is each of them taking advantage of those ankle rocker pivots, standing at their widest stance possible, still with both feet flat on the floor. And the Select one is outdoing the Legends one here. However, that hip articulation to allow that's pretty ugly in comparison, isn't it? So while I commend Diamond for upping the posability of their Selects, it still seems like the articulation isn't quite blending with the sculpt here in the way the Legends one does, leaving what posing you can do a little stiff and less naturalistic. However, I don't want to knock the Select here too much, as Diamond are contractually limited with their articulation, I think to 16 points, so in terms of comparing posability between Legends and Selects, it's never going to be an even playing field between the two. Yet still, here I'm siding with the Legends version. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. It's also worth keeping in mind that buying this Marvel Legends Black Panther now on the secondary market, say eBay, you're probably going to pay twice what you'd pay for a Marvel Select. So while you may think the Legends one is better, is it better to the tune of 2 Marvel Selects? Anyway, if this video has left you hungry for another action figure comparison, click the video on the left as Hasbro's Star Wars Black Series Captain Phasma faces her Disney Store exclusive Elite Series counterpart. Now to answer some random questions that were asked in my unboxing video of these Disney Store Marvel Selects. Well, JG Animations, most of my action figures are squirreled away in drawers, and when I buy my own place that has the room that I can display them all, believe me, you will all be the first to see it. But until then, the Lone Bricker is correct. That display shelf behind me in that unboxing video is the only display of action figures I have in my home. And speaking of behind me in that video, you're a very nosy lot, aren't you? No, those wrestling DVDs in those 2 racks there. No, Jordan, you can't. Well, not from me anyway. Maybe ask your parents or try Santa come next Christmas. I know you might be like, why not? You buy so many toys that you must have so much money. Well, the other way to look at that is I buy so many toys that I have no money left. You know the real Cryo Master? I would absolutely love to, yet what Deadpool action figure evolution taught me is that I spend days shooting, editing and writing those videos for then to be rewarded with comments like, oh, you forgot the Lego Deadpool. And when it comes to Spider-Man, there are more action figures of him than probably any other character that I could never collect or showcase them all, and I don't want to give people like that any more ammunition. I mean, I guess I could be select with it and showcase only certain ones, but even so, it would still take me quite a long time and a fair amount of expense to track down everything I would need to show off. But speaking of Spider-Man, Black Panther was but the appetizer, and good old Spidey me will be the main course. But before you can all tuck into that, I need to web sling off and finish editing it. And I want to quickly thank you for all your awesome support of late. Please keep it up, guys. Seeing my videos receiving all your thumbs up certainly encourages me to put these videos out. I hope to see you next time. Bye.